Sometimes we want life to change so badly, we want things to happen so desperately, that we end up trying to speed up what simply isn't ready to happen yet. We want a relationship to blossom before trust has had a chance to grow. We want to harvest before we've planted. We want results before the work has had time to mature. We want answers while life is still writing the question. It's like picking a piece of fruit that's still green, hoping it will ripen in our hands. But nature has never been in a hurry. There is a time to plant, a time to grow roots, a time to grow. Only then does the time for harvest arrive. The problem is that we respect this process in almost every area of life, except our own. We mistake urgency for determination, anxiety for commitment, and control for strength. That's how we wear ourselves out. Not because we're doing too much, but because we're fighting against a clock that has never answered to our will. How many people give up on a dream simply because the results took longer than they expected? How many relationships fall apart because of the need to make tomorrow happen today? How many opportunities are lost because impatience convinces someone that nothing is happening? The Stoics understood a truth that has continued to set people free for more than 2,000 years. You don't control when the fruit appears. You only control the quality of the seeds you choose to plant every single day. That shift in perspective can transform an entire life. You stop wasting energy trying to speed up what isn't up to you and begin investing all your strength in what you can actually do. You keep taking action, you keep building, you keep doing your part. But you no longer spend your life trying to force life to give you what it is still preparing. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that everything unfolds according to the order of nature, not as an invitation to be passive, but as a reminder that there is wisdom in distinguishing between what depends on your actions and what depends only on time. In this video, I've gathered 8 Stoic lessons to help you develop this quiet strength. The strength to keep planting when no one can see the results, to remain faithful to your path when doubt appears, and to trust that life moves at a pace no amount of anxiety can ever accelerate. If today you choose to do your part and trust the timing of what you cannot control, write just one sentence in the comments: I trust the process. Because some of life's greatest transformations don't happen when you force the door open. They happen when you become the person who is ready to walk through it at the right moment. And more often than not, the perfect moment isn't when everything happens. It's when you're finally ready to receive what you've been seeking all along. Let's begin. Lesson 1. Stop fighting time. How many times have you built up such high expectations that you started suffering over something that hadn't even happened yet? Maybe it was a relationship you wanted to turn into something certain as quickly as possible. An opportunity that seemed to be taking longer than it should. A dream you wanted so badly to achieve that you started believing every day without results was a sign of failure. Without even realizing it, you stopped living in the present because you began fighting against time. Lao Tzu wrote a sentence that has endured for centuries, precisely because it describes one of life's greatest truths. Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. Take a moment to look at nature. No tree tries to bloom before spring. No seed breaks through the soil the day after it is planted. No river reaches the ocean any faster because of anxiety. Everything grows according to a rhythm that cannot be rushed without being damaged. Curiously, we are the only part of nature that constantly tries to force that rhythm. We want to harvest before we've even taken root. We want recognition before we've earned competence. We want confidence before we've given it the time it needs to be built. We want answers before life has even finished asking the questions, as if speed could replace growth. And that's exactly where the exhaustion begins. Not because life is running behind, but because our minds start demanding from reality something it simply isn't ready to give us yet. The Stoics understood this in an extraordinary way. They never taught people to sit back and wait with folded arms. They taught us to act with complete dedication, without turning anxiety into a way of working. Because some things depend on your effort. Others depend only on the time that effort needs to produce results. And confusing those two things is one of the greatest sources of suffering. Think about the last time you tried to rush a season of your life. Maybe you kept pushing for an answer that didn't exist yet. Maybe you pressured a decision that simply needed more time to mature. Or maybe you spent weeks demanding results from yourself that simply couldn't have appeared yet. How much did that pressure actually bring you closer to what you wanted? And how much did it simply steal the peace that could have accompanied the journey? Marcus Aurelius said that everything happens according to the order of nature, not as an invitation to passivity, but as a reminder that maturity also means recognizing that not everything blooms at the pace of our desires. How long has it been since you've gone even a single day without feeling like you owe something to life, without the feeling that you should be further ahead, accomplishing more, achieving more, living more? Maybe that exhaustion doesn't come from how much you do. Maybe it comes from the countless invisible battles you fight against time, and few wars drain a person more than the one that can never be won. As Lao Tzu wrote, "Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished." And maybe life isn't asking you to move faster. Maybe it's simply inviting you to do your part with excellence and allow everything else to mature when the time is truly right. Lesson 2. Not every kind of growth shows up today. Maybe you've felt this before. You put in the effort, try to become better, change a few habits, keep doing your part, but then you look at your own life and wonder, is anything really changing? That is exactly the moment when so many people give up. Not because the effort stopped working, but because they believe that if they still can't see the results, then nothing must be happening. We live in a time that has taught us to measure everything. How much money came in, how much weight we've lost, how much I've grown, how much I've accomplished, how far I still have to go. Without even realizing it, we begin treating our own lives as if they have to produce visible results all the time to deserve our trust. But the truth is, there are some things that simply cannot be measured while they are happening. You can't measure maturity. You can't measure confidence. You can't measure inner peace. You can't measure character. You recognize them afterward. Think about someone learning a new language. During the first few days, it feels like nothing sticks. The words get mixed up, the pronunciation comes out wrong, and it feels like they're starting over every single day. After a few weeks, it still feels much the same. The struggle is still there, the mistakes are still there. It still doesn't seem like much progress. Then, one ordinary day, without even realizing exactly when it happened, that person watches a movie and understands an entire sentence, travels somewhere and is able to ask for directions, hears a conversation and for the very first time doesn't have to translate every single word in their head. That understanding wasn't born in that moment. It simply became visible in that moment, because it had been growing quietly every single time they chose to keep going, even when they couldn't feel themselves improving. Life has transformations that follow that very same pattern. You don't suddenly notice from one day to the next that you become more patient. You don't wake up realizing you've become emotionally stronger. You don't immediately notice that you've stopped reacting to things that used to steal your peace. The greatest changes in life almost never knock on the door to announce they've arrived. They reveal themselves when life puts you back in a familiar situation. And, for the very first time, you respond in a completely different way. That is when you realize the transformation had been happening all along. That is exactly what the Stoics understood more than 2,000 years ago. They didn't measure their growth by the speed of their achievements. They measured it by the quality of their character, because they knew that a strong mind is never built in one defining moment. It grows stronger through the small choices that almost always seem insignificant. Every time you choose calm instead of impulse, every time you keep your word, every time you continue doing what is right, even when there is no immediate reward. None of those choices changes a life on its own, but no extraordinary life is ever built without them. Maybe your greatest frustration today is looking at yourself and thinking that you've barely changed. But maybe the problem isn't a lack of growth. Maybe it's the expectation of seeing every single day a transformation that happens almost invisibly. Not every transformation can be seen while it's taking place. Some only reveal themselves when you look back and realize you no longer think the way you used to, you no longer feel the way you used to, and you no longer accept what once seemed normal. So don't rush to judge your own journey. Keep learning. Keep doing your part. Keep allowing time to finish what your effort has already begun. As Ernest Hemingway wrote, gradually, then suddenly. Maybe that's exactly how life's greatest transformations happen. First, they grow quietly, far beyond what the eyes can see. And when they finally become visible, they make it seem as though they happened all at once. But the truth is different. Some of life's greatest transformations are already complete, long before you realize they are. Maybe the person you've been waiting to become is already being formed within you. The day you finally recognize them just hasn't arrived yet. Lesson 3. Accept the lessons life has been trying to teach you. Few things hurt as much as discovering an important truth, and in that very moment, starting to blame yourself for not knowing it sooner. You learn a new way to live, you recognize a mistake you made, you realize an opportunity you let slip away, and your first reaction is almost always the same. If I had known this before, my life would have been different. Maybe it would have, but there's a far more important question. How could you have done things differently if you weren't yet the person you are today? Think about it for a moment. Every bit of wisdom you have right now was born from the very experiences you wish you could erase. The maturity you carry within you didn't come before your mistakes. It came because of them. Even so, we keep doing something deeply unfair. We go back to the past carrying the awareness we only gained after we had already lived through it. It's like expecting a child to have the clarity of an adult, or expecting someone to see a path that only became visible after they had walked it. The Stoics understood this reality with remarkable clarity. Epictetus reminded us that we do not suffer because of events themselves, but because of the way we choose to interpret them. And few interpretations hurt as much as turning a lesson into guilt, because guilt looks back only to punish, while wisdom looks back to learn. That's the whole difference. Haruki Murakami wrote a line that speaks powerfully to this idea. When you come out of the storm, you won't be the same person who walked in. That's what the storm is all about. Perhaps the greatest tragedy isn't going through difficult times. Perhaps it's going through them and still refusing to accept what they came to teach you. Imagine someone learning to write. The first pages are full of mistakes, the letters are uneven, the sentences feel clumsy. But no one tears up the notebook saying those attempts were a waste, because everyone understands it was impossible to write well before learning how. Life works the same way. Your mistakes are not proof that you failed. They are the record of someone who was still learning. When you truly understand that, something shifts deep within your subconscious. You stop asking, "Why did I act that way?" And you begin asking, "What did this experience make possible within me?" That single question transforms suffering into growth, loss into maturity, time into wisdom. Today, try a simple exercise. Think about something that still fills you with regret. Now ask yourself, if I could completely erase that experience, would I still be the person I am today? Most of the time, the answer will be no, because the experiences that hurt you the most also helped shape your awareness. At the end of the day, accepting the past has never meant saying that everything was good. It means recognizing that even the things you would never choose to go through helped shape the person who can now see life through different eyes. And perhaps that is one of the greatest expressions of inner peace, to stop fighting against what has already ended and finally use everything it taught you to live the life that still lies ahead. Lesson 4. Your peace doesn't live in the future. There is a quiet habit that steals the joy of millions of people without them ever realizing it. They open, inside their own minds, a kind of invisible bank account. And they start making deposits every single day. They deposit their peace of mind. They deposit their hope. They deposit their confidence. They deposit the smiles they still don't allow themselves to experience. But there's one catch. That account has a rule. It can only be opened when something finally happens. When life gets better, when that plan finally works out, when everything is exactly the way they imagined it would be. Without realizing it, they stop living in the present because they begin living emotionally in a future that doesn't even exist yet. And maybe that's one of the quietest forms of suffering. Because life keeps happening, the days go by, people come and go, precious moments disappear, while the mind keeps repeating the same promise. I'll enjoy it later. Stop for a moment and answer honestly. When was the last time you allowed yourself to feel at peace without waiting for something to happen first? Because when happiness always depends on the next event, the present never feels like enough. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, repeated a truth that is still deeply freeing today. Don't ask for things to happen the way you want them to. Wish for them to happen as they do, and your life will go well. That idea isn't about giving up on your dreams. It's about stopping the habit of handing over to the future a responsibility that belongs to the present. Because there's a huge difference between building tomorrow and putting your life on hold until it arrives. Imagine someone planting a tree. Every day they water the soil, care for the roots, protect the young sapling from the wind. But instead of appreciating the privilege of watching it grow, they spend all their time asking why it still doesn't provide any shade. The tree keeps growing. The one who stops living is the gardener. Life does exactly the same thing to us. While you keep placing all your peace in the outcome, you fail to notice the person you're becoming along the way. And that may be the greatest loss of all, because many times the very thing you've been waiting for finally happens, but the joy only lasts for a few days. Soon after that, the mind picks a new destination to store its happiness, and the cycle begins all over again. Not because life never gives you enough, but because the mind has learned to believe that peace always lives in the next chapter. The Stoics broke that cycle in a different way. They did the best they could today. They planned for the future responsibly, but they refused to postpone their own serenity. Because they understood a simple truth. Peace isn't a reward waiting for you at the finish line. It's the way you choose to walk the path. Today, ask yourself an honest question. In which emotional account have you been depositing your peace? What do you believe has to happen before you finally allow yourself to live with a lighter heart? Maybe the answer will reveal that the problem was never life taking too long. It was where you decided to keep your happiness. Because anything that depends entirely on tomorrow can be taken away, but the peace you learn to build today will stay with you, no matter what future arrives, and that may be the greatest freedom a human being can ever achieve. Lesson 5. Act without forcing. We live in a time that has convinced us that winning means constantly rushing. The faster you move, the busier you are, the more results you produce, the better. Without even realizing it, we begin to believe that every pause is falling behind, that every delay is failure, and that everything has to happen at the pace of our anxiety. But there's one problem. Life never agreed to those terms. It continues to follow its own laws. The body needs rest to regain its strength. Relationships need time to build trust. Knowledge needs repetition before it becomes wisdom. Everything that truly matters matures at a pace that no amount of rushing can speed up. The Stoics called this way of living in harmony with nature. It didn't mean folding your arms, giving up on your goals, or waiting for life to work everything out on its own. It meant stopping the waste of your energy fighting against what simply cannot be rushed. Seneca explained this truth with an unforgettable image. Imagine for a moment a dog tied to a moving cart. It has two choices. It can willingly walk alongside the cart, moving in the same direction, or it can resist, pull against the leash, and try to go the opposite way. Either way, the cart will keep moving forward. The only difference is that, in the second case, the dog will still end up in the same place, only completely exhausted. Many times, we do exactly the same thing with life. We resist what has already happened. We fight against inevitable change. We waste energy trying to control people, situations, and timing that were never ours to control. In the end, we don't change the path. We only make the journey more painful. The Stoics never said life would be easy. They simply said that much of our suffering begins when we fight reality instead of learning to walk alongside it. Think about how many times you've lost your peace trying to stop a change that happened anyway, or how often you've tried to control a situation that continued unfolding on its own. How much of your energy has been consumed by battles that could never have been won. There is extraordinary strength in recognizing that limit, not because you're giving up, but because you're finally directing your energy toward what you truly can change. Your choices, your character, and the way you respond to life's circumstances. That's the moment when life stops feeling like a constant battle and begins to feel like a path of growth. You keep working, you keep making the effort, you keep doing your part, but you no longer waste your strength trying to move what was never yours to move. And little by little, you discover that true peace was never born from trying to control the path, but from having the courage to walk it with confidence. As Joseph Campbell wrote, we must be willing to let go of the life we planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us. Perhaps the greatest wisdom isn't making life unfold exactly the way you imagined. Perhaps it's discovering that life can surprise you once you finally stop fighting against it. Lesson 6. You are not behind in life. There is a weight that millions of people carry in silence, the feeling that they are behind. They look at someone their own age and think they should already be further ahead. They believe they chose their career too late, that they started too late, that they made too many mistakes, that they wasted too much time. And without even realizing it, they stop living their own journey because they begin measuring every step they take against someone else's path. But there is one question that almost no one asks: behind compared to whom? Who decided the timeline for your life? Who determined the exact age when you were supposed to find your purpose, mature, build a family, change careers, or discover who you truly are? The truth is that most of this anxiety was never born from time itself. It was born from comparison. Because when you only look at other people's results, you completely forget the story they had to live through to get there. Within Stoicism, there was a nearly unanimous belief that every human being has a path that no one else can walk. Trying to rush your own path simply because someone else seems to be further ahead is abandoning your own journey to run a race that was never yours. Think about it for a moment. How many bad decisions have been made simply out of the fear of falling behind? How many people settled for a life they never truly wanted because they believed it was already too late to start over? And how many gave up at the very moment they were still building the most important part of their own story? Perhaps this is one of the mind's greatest illusions, believing there is a right age to bloom, an exact deadline to succeed, a clock that determines when a life finally becomes valuable. The Stoics never taught that everyone would arrive at the same destination. They taught only that every life finds greatness when it remains faithful to its own path. Because dignity was never about arriving first. It has always been about continuing to walk without abandoning who you are. There is an extraordinary peace that comes when you stop competing with other people's timelines. You stop asking, why am I not there yet? And you begin asking, what is life building within me as I keep moving forward? That single shift transforms anxiety into purpose, hurry into presence, comparison into freedom. Khalil Gibran wrote, "The seed dreams of the light, but it must learn to love the darkness where it grows." Perhaps the greatest mistake is not going through seasons when nothing seems to be happening. The greatest mistake is believing that a quiet season means a life without value. There are chapters that were never written to show the world who you have already become. They were written to build the person who will one day be strong enough to carry everything that is still to come. Lesson 7. Don't give your energy to just anything. One of the most common misconceptions when people hear that everything happens in its own time is that they assume it means waiting, sitting back, simply trusting that one day life will work everything out on its own. But that's never what the Stoics taught. They never confused serenity with passivity. Waiting was never the goal. The goal has always been to use all of your strength on what truly depends on you. Because there's a huge difference between respecting time and wasting your own time. While so many people spend their days trying to control answers that haven't come yet, imagining scenarios that may never happen, or fighting against events that can no longer be changed, life keeps offering something incredibly valuable, the opportunity to act now. And it's interesting to notice how the mind often prefers worry over action. Worry makes us feel like we're doing something, but most of the time, it only leaves us more exhausted. Real action is different. It's quiet, steady, almost invisible. While anxiety asks every single day whether the time has finally come, action answers by working, learning, improving, and moving forward. Without making a scene, without rushing, without stopping its own path, just to check every moment whether the results have already arrived. That is exactly the mindset the Stoics cultivated. They understood that human beings were not made to control outcomes, they were made to create causes, and every well-built cause carries within it the possibility of a better future. That's why a solid life is never built on a few extraordinary moments. It's built on small decisions, on keeping your word, on studying even when no one is watching, on maintaining discipline during ordinary days, on having the courage to keep improving even when there is no applause. Each of those choices may seem small when viewed on its own, but together they completely change the direction of a person's life. Destiny rarely changes all at once. It changes every time you choose, today, to do what brings you closer to the person you want to become. Maybe that's the question worth carrying with you from this day forward. Not when is my life going to change, but where am I putting my energy today? The answer to that question will always be within your reach. You can study, you can take care of your body, you can strengthen your mind, you can keep your word, you can treat people with more kindness, you can act with greater calm, you can learn a new skill, you can take the next step. There is always some action waiting for nothing more than your decision. And when you learn to live this way, a quiet transformation begins. You stop wasting your energy trying to speed up the future, and you start investing that same energy into building a present so solid that the future becomes a natural consequence. At the end of the day, maybe life never asked you to control time. It simply asked you not to waste today, because tomorrow will always come. The real question is this: when it does, will it find the same person you are today, or someone who chose to grow while waiting? That may be the greatest difference between those who merely wish for a better life and those who actually build one. As Johann Wolfgang von Goethe wrote, "Everything is hard before it becomes easy. So keep going, even if you still can't see it, even if you haven't reaped the rewards yet, even if no one notices, because every action taken with purpose endures. And sooner or later, life always finds a way to give back in the form of transformation what you had the courage to build in silence. That's how time stops being an obstacle and becomes the greatest ally of those who never gave up moving forward. Lesson 8. The power of letting go of what is no longer yours. The greatest exhaustion a person can feel does not always come from work. More often than not, it begins inside the mind. After you've done everything you could, the hardest part begins. It is not working harder, it is not trying harder, it is stopping yourself from carrying what has already left your hands. Very few people realize it. But much of our exhaustion does not come from what we do. It comes from what we keep trying to control after our part is already finished. You send a message, but you stay attached to the reply. You make a decision, but spend days replaying what you could have done differently. You finish a project, publish a video, go through a job interview, have an important conversation, and even after it's all over, your mind keeps returning to the same place. The event has ended, but inside you, it is still happening. That is exactly how anxiety keeps so many people trapped. They are not only carrying the challenges of the present, they are also carrying everything that should have been set down long ago. The Stoics understood a distinction that completely changes the way we live. There is a time to act, and there is a time to trust. Confusing those two stages turns dedication into exhaustion. Imagine a potter shaping a clay vase. While the clay is still in the potter's hands, every movement matters. The potter corrects, adjusts, shapes, refines. But there comes a moment when the vase has to go into the kiln. After that, continuing to handle it does not make it better. It only increases the risk of ruining what was already taking shape. Life works the same way. There is a time to talk, a time to decide, a time to act. But there is also a time when holding on is no longer courage. It becomes attachment. Maybe you know this feeling. Your body is living today, but your mind is still trapped waiting for an answer that has not come yet, or stuck in a decision that has already been made, in a situation that no longer allows your involvement. Little by little, you trade the peace of the present for the impossible task of controlling a future that has never responded to excessive worry. Epictetus taught that we should focus our energy only on what is truly within our control, not because everything else is unimportant, but because trying to control the uncontrollable has never changed the outcome. It only changes who you become while you wait for it. Perhaps the greatest sign of strength is not holding on a little longer. Perhaps it is being able to say to yourself, "I have done my part," and allowing life to do the rest. There is a kind of peace that only appears when you finally understand that not everything needs to keep being carried. Some things simply need to be left to time, to other people's choices, or to whatever path life itself will take. As Antoine de Saint-Exupéry wrote, "Perfection is achieved not when there is nothing more to add, but when there is nothing left to take away." And the same is true when it comes to peace. It begins the moment you stop adding worry to what no longer depends on you. The more you learn to trust what you have done, the less you will feel the need to control what comes next. And that is when the mind finally finds rest. Not because everything turned out the way you hoped, but because you realized that not everything needed to keep being carried. Life is never late in delivering what it is truly preparing. It simply takes the time needed to prepare you alongside what you asked for. Because in the end, perhaps the perfect moment was never the one when the dream arrived. Perhaps it was the moment when you finally became the person capable of receiving it. Modern hearts deserve the calm of the ancients, and that's exactly what Stoic House exists to offer. If this message spoke to you, leave a like, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe to join us.